at the time when he messaged me, I was 100% over dating anybody. I hated guys. I said, like, literally the day before he messaged me, like, I will be single forever. I don't care. Like, I'm not dating anyone. All men are beep, beep, beeps.
I am who I'm meant to be. I am who I'm meant to be.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Beaston Family Vibes. Today we want to take some time and tell you guys about the story of us. We've been promising it for a while now, so here goes nothing. Hope you enjoy it. Chris and Tiffany Beaston, both born in the small town of Ewing, New Jersey, born at the same hospital within 3 years of one another. It seemed as though these two were destined to be together. I was born on November 11th, 1985. It was actually my brother's third birthday, so I was officially the worst birthday present he had ever gotten, and still probably has ever gotten. But
The best.
from there, you know, I grew up with, I think, good family values, and played a lot of sports, and hoping that our kids do the same thing. Spent a lot of time around our local swim club, getting in some trouble here and there, and really just looking for the love of my life from even being a little boy.
So I was the fifth in line out of 7 kids, and I think when I was 2, my parents divorced, and when I was around 5 or so, my mom remarried, and that is how I got my younger brother and my younger sister. I think I was about 8 years old when my mom had her 6th baby, and that's when I was no longer the baby. I pretty much we grew up in the same area, but I also grew up in Hamilton as well. I still have a lot of family there, Hamilton, New Jersey. And I grew up just being like a tomboy, but wearing dresses. I tried to play like every sport. I probably sucked at all of them. And then pretty much worked from 13 on. And I was always looking for the love of my life too.
Oh. Despite living less than 5 miles from one another, most of their childhood, Chris and Tiffany attended different elementary schools, and therefore did not have any interaction until middle school.
So my first encounter was with Chris. I was in like 7th grade. I was definitely 7th grade, because I just remember it like clear as day. Mm-hmm. He was like the cool kid. I don't think you were in school with me. I think you were like coming from high school.
Might have been.
Back to middle school.
It's weird.
And I remember sitting on the bus with my pink Sony CD player, listening to Little Bow Wow, and like seeing him walk by and thinking he was so hot and so cool. I think like he had like his book bag with just like one shoulder strap on. So hot back then to have that one strap.
It's not cool anymore.
But I just remember like looking at him and like thinking he was really cute and really cool. And then fast forward to high school, I remember going to like the baseball games, and he would be there too. We never spoke to each other like ever. Not in middle school, not in high school. But I remember, this is like not the best memory, but I remember him chasing around his girlfriend at the time, like being playful with her, and I was like, wow, I wish I had a boyfriend like that. And it's just funny because I remember that day like so clearly. And
Did he chase you around, honey?
Yeah. After this, can you chase me around the house? Then I just, she did laugh. And it's just funny because that's the person that I married, so that's really funny.
Several years later, while both in high school, one of Chris's friends was dating Tiffany's friend, which led Chris to Tiffany's bedroom window on a Friday night. I was with a group of guys, and I guess one of them must have been dating, of course not Tiffany because she didn't date anybody, told me, but must have been dating one of her friends that was having a little sleepover at her house, her parents' house. And I think I drove these guys. I don't even know if the other guys could drive or not, but you know, well. Anyway, we showed up at probably like 10:30 at night, and it might have been later than that, who knows. And I could kind of see like Tiffany was kind of in the back around. My friend was talking to his girlfriend through the window, and I don't really remember saying this so much, but Tiffany remembers it clear as day. Yeah, I might have been having a few adult beverages, but what did I say? I looked in, I was like,
clearly into
ooh.
me out of all the girls that were in my room. I think I had at
was.
least like 4 or 5 girls sleeping over that night.
And I made a really sweet remark about her hair. I looked in, I was like, ooh, she's a brunette now. And that was just because she was always blonde, and it took me back a little bit, and of course thought she looked gorgeous. But that was my first time. I do remember being there. I remember talking to her, kind of, and maybe talking at her. Who knows? She probably wasn't that into me at the time.
I remember being flattered. I do.
Although sparks were already clearly flying between these two, it wasn't until several years later that the stars aligned and Chris was just intoxicated enough to have the courage to talk to then 21-year-old, single and beautiful Tiffany. Again, after quite a few adult beverages, it was actually Thanksgiving Eve 2009, I want to say.
It was 2009, yes, honey.
I had finally worked up, enough courage to, I guess, what was it called at the time for Facebook? I just messaged Tiffany, who I saw was online, and I asked her the, flattering line of, "What's a beautiful girl like you doing single?" And she came back with, "Good one." And from there it was sparks flying, and we have been inseparable
How
since.
many other girls did you message that night with your
You were the
liquid
only one,
courage?
I promise.
At the time when he messaged me, I was 100% over dating anybody. I hated guys. I said, like, literally the day before he messaged me, like, I will be single forever. I don't care. Like, I'm not dating anyone. All men are beep, beep, beeps. And honestly, I feel like I was always, like, flattered that he messaged me and was into me. He was always so sweet, except I gave him my phone number and he never texted me. And I thought he would be, like, kind of shook and text me right away that same night, and he didn't. And I was just like, ew, I guess, like, forget that guy. Moving on. Like, honestly, I didn't even think about it again. So I think he, like, messaged me on Facebook, like, the following day, and I think I had said something about, like, yeah, you never text me. And then I was working at the time, I was working 2 jobs. I was working at Bonefish as well as a diner. And after work, there was, like, a little bar right across in, like, the same parking lot. I walked over to the bar with some people from the diner, and I was having a beer, and I just decided to text him, and I was just like, hey, what are you up to? And I think he said, I'm in Manayunk, please tell me you're here. And I think that's kind of how I told him that, like, he never messaged me, and he realized that supposedly he had the wrong number. But
Okay, so now that you heard the fake version of that night,
that's how I remember it. I don't know.
I'll elaborate on my side of the story. After messaging her and sparks were flying, unfortunately I had a faulty battery charger on my laptop, which so many of us have had on those HP laptops. Anyway, and my laptop died in the middle of us talking, so she had given me her number. I then texted her and said, I'm sorry, my laptop died. I'm going to sleep. Hopefully I can talk to you tomorrow. I unfortunately put the number in wrong because, as I said, adult beverages. And
I think what's so funny about all these adult beverage remarks is that I have to beg him to have a drink with me.
Yeah. Yeah, you got
I
to.
think she said.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Hi.
She's on my side right now.
with Chris still finishing up his master's degree in Virginia and Tiffany working on her prerequisites for nursing school, the couple did what they needed to do to keep the relationship going.
So weeks after, he kind of, I feel like there's many times that I tried to push him away because, like I said, I was like at a spot in my life where I was just over it. I didn't even want to date to like spare myself. But he was always there. He was consistent every single day. He put in work. He put in work and a lot of effort. And I think finally, like, I came around. I was always like interested, but like had my guard up. Don't you agree?
I do.
And then I would always like try and start fights with him so that we could stop talking.
Didn't work.
And clearly it
Still doesn't.
It did not work. Please, we never fight. And eventually he and I started Skyping. I remember like going to buy a camera so that we could Skype. Totally PG, I swear. And we would just, I remember we played like online bowling versus each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like we
time.
like talked online for like months before we even hung out, and like we kind of like became really close and became best friends before like even seeing each other in person.
Yeah, we literally were 24 hours either texting, calling. We spent hours and hours while I was in grad school. We were just finding ourselves doing like really sweet things for each other. I was at this point planning to come up for Thanksgiving and for Christmas. And Tiffany actually sent me like a little package with 3 CDs that had her favorite mixes on it for the ride up, which was really sweet, and horrible taste in music, but it was really sweet.
Yeah, right. You loved it. I have the best taste in
I
music.
still have those CDs actually, if anybody wants to weigh in on that. But
I'm pretty sure there's like T-Pain, Sprung.
yeah, there was definitely a big moment, I think, in my understanding of our relationship when I was actually at my parents' house, and I think Tiffany had just gotten done work. She worked at a diner. I think you mentioned that already. But I was watching the Eagles game with my parents, and my phone rang in the middle of the game, and I looked at it, and it was Tiffany. And I actually got up from in front of the game, watching the game, and walked out of the room and proceeded to talk to her for like a good 25 minutes. And I came back, and my mom was like, "Wow, you must really like that girl if you stopped watching the Eagles game for her." So it was true. I did. I loved her right away.
So the first time we hung out was like totally on a whim. I wanted my best friend Kelly to like be involved because I was like nervous to hang out with him. I was living in Bethlehem. He was in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. He was in New Jersey visiting family. And so I said, Kelly, like, let's have like a mutual get together. And we did. I picked him up in my baby blue Mitsubishi Eclipse with glitter. And
she actually stopped in like the middle of the road of my parents' house
yesterday.
And got out of the car and kind of like ran up to me. She was wearing a red pea coat and skinny jeans and
Uggs
and hugged me. And she was just so much tinier than I was imagining for some reason. I hugged her and like it just fit. It's kind of like this.
Is this so romantic? We hung out at Kelly's house, and I feel like it was like a snowstorm or something the next day. So that was like the first visit, and then once he left, I remember feeling like bummed, like I wish we could hang out all the time. But another thing, this is like so true and telling of God, I feel like, honestly. And I'm sorry to go there, but on Christmas Day, I went from Bethlehem to New Jersey to visit my family in Hamilton, and I was supposed to go and see Chris. He had all of his friends at his parents' house, like down in the basement, playing pool and having drinks and just kind of hanging. And it was always the intention to go there. And once I like started getting like closer to his house, I was like, I'm not going. Like I made up my mind, like I'm not going. Like all of his friends are there. Like it's just awkward, and I just felt like really uncomfortable. And I called him on the phone and I said, I was like, I'm really sorry, but I'm not coming. And then the street name came up, and I'm telling you, like I didn't even think, and I just turned. And I remember like being like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe that I'm going there, and I can't believe that I just turned, because I had already had my mind made up that I was going to get on the highway and go back to Pennsylvania, but I just turned my car onto the street. And I'm telling you, like that's fate, because I was not going to go.
You made my Christmas.
And we had like a really great night that night. And I remember like you can have like a title or something like on your cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yours was like
yeah.
his title was like "Stay Hungry" or something.
It was. It's weird you remember that.
I know, I have weird.
That's
weird,
a good motto though out there.
weird memory.
Anybody trying to make it, stay hungry.
Stay hungry. And we were having a good time that night, and I deleted the part that says stay hungry, and I think I either wrote like love you or
Tiff loves Chris, something like that.
Tiff loves, like something like that.
I kept it there forever.
And he was like, you do? And I was just like, oh God, did I just say that? But then
we honestly fell in love right away. It's so true.
But then that night, I think, was the first time like you said it.
Yeah.
And like we made out a lot on the pool table.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Alice.
Sorry, Mom and Dad.
In August 2011, Chris was offered a position in Philadelphia and began looking for a place to live between his new employment and Tiffany's school. Little did she know, he was looking for a place for two.
We were talking on the phone one day, and he had been looking for apartments, and I'm like, yeah, like I'll help you like decorate and stuff. He's like, what do you mean? Like it's an apartment for us? And I was like, what? Like I thought you were just like moving here. I didn't know I was moving in with you, and I was definitely like hesitant because I was not ready for all of that.
Well, it happened, and we ended up at the Quakertown West Apartments, which is just, you know, nice little one-bedroom apartments, perfect for us at the time. Did smell a lot like cigarette smoke. Our downstairs neighbor, we were told, would actually fall asleep with cigarettes
Multiple cigarettes in
his mouth while playing video games.
Oh my gosh, I remember the guy of the laundry.
Yeah, we had a downstairs neighbor who I don't think ever left his apartment. He smelled pretty bad. I feel bad for him if he's still there.
I feel bad for him too, but I'll never forget. Because you had to walk past his place to do the laundry, and I remember just being like...
It was bad. But there was something really great about those apartments and the location. Was where it was in proximity to a little pet store, and who we came home with one early, what was it, when we ended up getting him, like late January?
Yeah.
It was an early Valentine's Day present for Tiffany, little
like
Romeo.
this big.
He was tiny, and this little family of two became a family of three.
And he had a heart murmur and was on like antibiotics. He's the reason why you should adopt and don't shop, because this dog is crazy. No, I'm just kidding. I love you, Roro.
He is crazy.
We did adopt Rookie. I feel like we were young and dumb, but also he needs love too.
Definitely young and dumb, but we also walked into that pet store to look at like fish, according to Tiffany, and guess what we came home with? She was like, I'm not leaving without him. So, you know, one way or another, however you feel about pet stores, and this is kind of going off the radar a little bit, we saved him from that pet store. So
Exactly.
that's how we feel, and he was so freaking cute, we could not take him home.
After a short stay in their first place together, the now family of three set their sights on a new home, this time closer to where Tiffany was expected to start nursing school. As their relationship grew stronger and stronger, with subtle hints that she was ready, Chris began shopping for rings.
1 year in the Quakertown West Apartments was plenty. After that lease was up, we immediately started looking elsewhere. So we ended up in a small town called Ambler. Big reason for that was it was closer to where I was working, and this one had our eyes on nursing school. So shortly after moving into Ambler, where we were, Tiffany got into nursing school and began her nursing studies.
Once we got into Ambler, I think we were going on like 3 years of being together, but we're basically married already. Like we lived together, we did everything together, we shared everything. Like I feel
All
like
of our finances were combined.
we shared. It was just like a marriage. Like we just knew. Like there was no doubt. There was no like scariness. Like we just knew. And I wanted to get engaged so bad. Everyone around me was getting engaged, even though they had been with their boyfriends for like 8 and 9 years. So Chris was the worst.
He was.
He was the worst.
There was one occasion that in hindsight, probably wasn't the best idea. We were on vacation in Long Beach Island, and
I'll never forgive you.
it was right around Tiffany's birthday because that's when we typically go. And I thought I was just being romantic and told her, hey, let's take Romeo and let's go walk down to the bay and see the sunset. So she
Who
hurried
does
up.
that
And,
like nap on like a everyday night?
this guy does. So she hurried up and painted her nails, and then she's like, okay, I'm ready. So we took a walk down and we watched the sunset, and we turned back around and came home, and this one cried for a while.
Well, okay, so we were on vacation, yes, and so after vacation was over, we were out for my birthday too. I even had a white lace dress on because I swore we were getting engaged on my birthday. And he told myself and all my friends, like, let's go for a walk on the beach. And me and all my girlfriends were like, this is it, he's gonna propose, you know? No. So he had faked me out. So I think we were like almost home from vacation of like an hour and a half, 2 hour drive. And I just started bawling.
But I did finally propose. Fast forward maybe like 8 months from there. I'm not exactly sure on the time. I do know though it was November 20th, 2011. And I was on my way home from work, and I had planned it all out. Tiffany, I had really a brand new car, but Tiffany had told me a day or two before that my car smelled funny and that I needed to take it in. So as I was on the phone with her leaving work, I pulled out my greatest acting skills and was like, oh crap, oh no, my car, it's overheating, I need to pull over. So I pulled over. She said, what do I do? I said, don't worry, I'll call AAA, we'll figure it out. We were set to go to dinner. I said, just get ready to go to dinner, come pick me up, and we'll go from there. So when she arrived, I actually had a photographer from my work hiding in the bushes, taking pictures. I had dry ice coming from the hood of the car, and our favorite song at the time, which was Plug-in Stereo. What's the name?
Darling.
Oh Darling is the name of it, if you want to look it up. And she came out to look at my car and see what was going on, and I got
First
down
I put
on-
up a little bit of a fight.
She did. She's like, why do I have to get out of the car? I
Like,
said,
it's freezing cold
because
outside.
I need you to see this. You're like a mechanic. You should see it. And I got down on one knee and proposed, and then I had made reservations right there where it was.
Did you say how the smoke was coming out of your car?
I did. Dry ice that created fake smoke. And we walked over, and they had champagne waiting for us at a local restaurant that was right where I wrote down. So we had reservations there, and Tiffany didn't eat a thing. She was shocked. And
I didn't eat anything, and this kid is like shoving his face. He's like, I can finally eat, because he was like happy that he had got it over with. But I just was like taking pictures of my ring. I had the same nail polish color on, Lincoln Park After Dark, and my face was just bright red. I remember like not being able to sleep and just like staring at my ring all night and just being over the moon and scared because I was going to be with him forever and ever. Timing is everything, because look at our life now.
Absolutely.
Look at this little princess staring at you.
With Tiffany in nursing school, the couple set a date of June 20th, 2014, roughly 18 months after getting engaged, to tie the knot.
So about a year and a half after our engagement, that was considered a long engagement, but I really don't feel like it's that long.
Yeah, felt pretty long.
Really? So I wanted to wait until after I graduated. So what I did, I was president of my class in nursing school. So I was like preparing a speech and preparing my vows at the same time. So we wanted to read our own vows. I graduated nursing school, and the next week or 2 weeks later?
Probably.
I think it was like the next week.
Yeah, a week or two later. Yeah, exactly.
We got married.
June 20th, 2014. It seriously could not have been a better weather day. It was absolutely
It was like,
perfect.
if I could be the weather, that would be my day.
Really was amazing.
It was the best.
We got married in Spring Lake, New Jersey, which is kind of a shore point.
It
a
wasn't
place
on the beach. It was
called the
near
Mill
the beach.
on one of the lakes, and it was just absolutely gorgeous. One thing I like to tell about our wedding was that we actually had a wedding band that when we first saw them, we were in Long Beach Island.
The night that I thought I was going to propose in that white lace dress I was telling you
so
about.
it all comes around. And their name was Lima Bean Riot. And Tiffany said to me, so to remind you, this was before I proposed. Tiffany said to me, I want them to play at our wedding. And I was like, okay, crazy. I don't even know if we can afford a wedding.
You were trying to save up for that ring.
Exactly. So I'm like, all right, first I'm saving up for the ring. Now I'm going to save up for the band. But we did end up getting Lima Bean Riot. They were unbelievable. Our wedding song, she's just staring at me.
It's smiling so big. I love it.
Hi.
I love you, Daddy.
Our wedding song was,
John Legend, All of Me.
And they nailed it. There's a...
I think better than John Legend if that's even possible.
There's a male and a female vocalist.
We'll link it below because they actually have a video on YouTube singing it, and it's just like chills to the bone, amazing, most beautiful version of the song.
Unreal.
And actually changed it like 3 weeks before our wedding.
We did. We were going to have the song that I proposed to.
Oh, darling.
And they actually did sing that for us, and they did okay, but we're really glad that they did this one instead.
Because I would just hear All of Me and get chills, and it just felt like, okay, I know that so many people use that song for their wedding, trust me, I know, but it was perfect, especially like the band singing it with the male and female vocalist.
And it was a very relevant song at the time, like it had just come out, and it just, everybody loved it, so you don't do that for, that's not why you choose a wedding song, but people were definitely tearing up, and that's what we invited them there for, was to make them cry. So we went on our honeymoon to Dominican Republic, Punta Cana, which Tiffany pretty much said the entire time that it wasn't as nice as Mexico and her bachelorette party, but she was happier to be there with me.
We almost got murdered on the side of the road as soon as we got there, so
what happened was I forgot to set up a shuttle transportation from the airport to the hotel, the whatever resort, and we just kind of asked somebody for a ride randomly.
No, there's a man in the airport that like was supposed to connect you with some kind of taxi to get to your resort, and he like walked us around to like at least like 5 different vans. It was so shady.
They kept taking us from one to the next, and then when we did get in the van, and we were probably like a mile and a half from the airport, he pulls over to the side of the road and like,
without saying anything.
Hey buddy, what are you doing? He said, oh, I'm meeting a guy here. We're like,
I remember telling Chris, like,
for?
I am having a panic attack.
Yeah.
I am freaking out. Like, I can't breathe. It was a horrible experience. And Chris goes, like, what are you doing, buddy? And he's like, oh, I'm exchanging some pesos. And you're like,
do it another time.
No, do it another time. Like, keep driving. The last words I was going to hear before my death. And I wanted to just, like, kiss that ground when we made it there. Like, I wanted to just, like...
Wasn't a good start. But we did have a lot of fun with mamajuana, which is not marijuana.
Mamajuana.
It's a type of liquor.
Let's just say, like,
Dominican
if you
Republic.
want to hear our honeymoon story, comment below because that'll be way too long.
Yeah, we can tell you all about our honeymoon too. It was a blast.
Only 1 week after returning home from their honeymoon, where they escaped death several times, Chris and Tiffany bought their first home and got right to work on filling it up with little ones.
After our honeymoon, we got back. We bought our first house, literally like
We
2
closed
weeks
on
after
my
that.
birthday, July 10th.
We did. It is the house that we're currently still living in. We love this house. We saw ourselves in this house with multiple children, and
We got pregnant 2 months after moving in, and we had Carter on our 1-year wedding anniversary, best present ever. Another thing about timing, because I know like a lot of the age group that watches our videos are like shopping for homes and stuff. I had fallen in love with so many houses before this house, and it just like never worked out. This house was actually taken off the market the day I was going to go see it, and I spoke to our realtor and I was like, is there any way we can still see that house? Like, can you contact them? She contacted them, and they basically said like, we need to take it off because we're getting like overwhelming amounts of like people wanting to see it, and we have small children and it's just too much. But she got us in to see the house, and here we are today. So it just like all works out how it's supposed to.
And that pretty much brings you up to speed. I mean, from after Carter, you kind of know our life.
I think I started YouTube when Tanner was 4 months old.
Yeah, so Carter was about a year and a half, almost probably close to 2 years old, right? Yeah, if it was May.
Yeah, because I vlogged his
So he was
2-year
23
birthday
months.
party. Remember the Minion theme party?
Check that out. Go back and check out the 2-year-old Carter birthday party. That
My
was cute, I bet.
YouTube skills were not very on point. Not that they are now either, but
That's alright. We're doing our best.
we are. I did the best at that time.
And we've got a lot of unwritten chapters left.
We're coming up on our 5-year wedding anniversary this June.
Anybody out there renew their vows and recommend it? Because I think it would be a lot of fun. And I think maybe we should do it.
Because we had talked about doing every 5-year vow renewal.
If you have any ideas for us, please comment below and let us know. We'd love to hear them.
Time is crazy. I remember
Yeah.
sitting on this couch
Doing
doing
our
a
first
Q&A.
Oh,
A little tooth cough.
so that's really it. We might not have the most outrageous story, but it is the story of us, and we're so happy with the way that everything has turned out in our life.
If you do have any questions that we didn't answer, you can always comment below and we'll both try and answer them.
So we hope you enjoyed this story of us, and if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. And you can find out a ton more about us just by going over to Beauty and the Beastons and watching every video that she's posted in the last 1.5 to 2 years. And we hope you enjoy.
Away from the shore, amongst the waves, exactly where I wanna be. I am where I